They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boom.
Wow.
I love it.
Just the competitor that I am. I'm fierce. I'm sassy. I stick up for my teammates, stick up for myself. And so sometimes I think that's okay to be feisty and to be yourself.
And
Do you
so
want to
now,
give it one more shot?
no, because
Okay.
I said what I had to say.
You go on.
And I'm not going to apologize because I fully believe that.
Call her the WNBA's villain, a player who doesn't care if you boo, doesn't care if you cheer, and definitely doesn't care if you don't like what she has to say. Sophie Cunningham has built her entire career on being unapologetically herself.
Everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like, I don't know. And you finding me $500 is not going to do.
She's fiery, she's outspoken, and she's made just as many enemies as she has fans. But what happens when you line up all those rivalries, the fouls, the trash talk, the ejections, the beefs that spilled off the court and into headlines? You get a list of 7 players Sophie Cunningham hated the most, and trust me, some of the names on this list will shock you. Because we're not just talking about rivals, we're talking about the players who brought out Sophie's fire, her anger, and her most unfiltered moments. And the last name on this list, let's just say it came straight out of one of the ugliest games of the 2025 season. If you're making a list of Sophie Cunningham's rivals, you can't start anywhere else. Because Chennedy Carter didn't just commit a foul, she set the tone for an entire season of bad blood. You remember it, the hip check heard around the world, Caitlin Clark dribbling up the court, Carter lowering her shoulder and sending the rookie crashing to the floor. Fans were outraged. The clip went viral. And while the league downplayed it, Sophie Cunningham didn't.
Carter refused to answer questions about the foul after the game.
I ain't answering no Kayla Clark questions.
But later, Carter saying this on social media. Besides three-point shooting, what does she bring to the table?
And people will try to argue that she's not the face of our league.
Yeah.
Or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as shit.
Yeah.
You're literally dumb as fuck.
On her podcast, she called plays like that too much, and she made it clear if you're targeting her teammate, you're targeting her too.
You have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin. We call her Cece. Cece. For even when I wasn't on her team, like I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're gonna prove her, we're gonna show her what the W really is. You know what I mean? And like I get it to a certain extent, and like every rookie coming into the league, that's how you're gonna treat them. But
Right.
there's just more for her. So it's her second year. And like now being on her team and like seeing it, I'm like, what are people doing? Like actually it's just too much. And
Yeah.
like it's just, I'm over. And if I'm saying it's too much, then it's probably too much.
No, that's so fair.
Like
Good
that's
point.
fair, right?
Yeah.
That one moment turned Carter into public enemy number 1, not just for Caitlin Clark, but for Sophie as well. Because Sophie isn't just another player, she's the enforcer. The one who will speak up when everyone else stays quiet. And from that day on, anytime Chennedy Carter was on the court with the fever, you could feel the tension. Every drive to the basket, every shove, every glance, it was a reminder of that hit. For Sophie, this wasn't just basketball, it was personal. And that's exactly why Chennedy Carter earns the first spot on this list. But the next player, she didn't need a cheap shot to get under Sophie's skin. She did it with her mouth, and she never stops talking. If Chennedy Carter made Sophie furious with her shoulder, then Angel Reese is the one who drives her crazy with her mouth. Because when it comes to trash talk, nobody in the WNBA does it louder or with more confidence than Angel Reese.
Yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
The bench. Cardoso with the miss. Angel Reese picks it up, what she's good at. Getting another offensive rebound. She says, give me that. How about another? Persistence trying to pay off. Jones gets a piece. Angel Reese won't give up. Jones with another block.
And it literally like pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What?
From college to the pros, Reese has built her entire brand on swagger, the hand gestures, the taunts, the interviews where she never misses a chance to stir the pot. And when Caitlin Clark became the face of the league, Angel became her loudest critic. But here's the thing, Sophie Cunningham wasn't having it. Sophie has always defended Clark publicly, calling out the people who discredit her, blasting the too physical excuses, and making it clear that the hate has gone too far.
When people will try to argue that she's not the face of our league,
Yeah.
or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as shit.
Yeah.
You're literally dumb as fuck.
So when Reese kept fanning the flames, it was like throwing gasoline on Sophie's fire. On the court, you can see it. The shoves after rebounds, the little words exchanged when the refs aren't listening, the way Sophie glares right back at Reese, refusing to give an inch. It's two personalities that could not be more different. Reese thriving on chaos, Sophie determined to shut it down. And the fans, they eat it up. Every Fever Sky matchup turns into a circus with Clark and Reese in the spotlight, and Sophie standing right in the middle of it all, sometimes defending, sometimes instigating, but always making sure Angel Reese knows she won't be intimidated. That's why this rivalry goes beyond basketball, because Reese wants to be the star who takes Clark down a peg, and Sophie wants to be the shield that makes sure it doesn't happen. And trust me, their story isn't over. If the WNBA wants drama, they don't need to script it. Just give us another Fever Sky game, and the sparks will fly on their own. But while Angel Reese gets under Sophie's skin with words, the next player on this list did it with something far more painful. An elbow that left Sophie absolutely furious. Some rivalries are built over years, others happen in a single unforgettable moment. For Sophie Cunningham, her beef with Kayla McBride comes down to one thing: an elbow that she will never forget. It happened in a game that already felt like a war. The Fever were hanging on, shorthanded and beaten up when Kayla McBride caught the ball on the wing. She swung through to create space, and her elbow caught Lexi Hull flush in the face. The crowd gasped. Lexi went down holding her eye, and for a split second the arena went silent, but not Sophie. She exploded at the refs, arms waving, voice echoing, demanding justice. Because to Sophie, this wasn't just a basketball play, it was disrespect. Lexi Hull is one of her closest teammates, and Sophie isn't the type to let something like that slide. The cameras caught it all: Sophie's glare at McBride, the frustration boiling over, and the way she never let the refs off the hook. And here's the thing, Sophie has a long memory. You hit one of her teammates, you might as well have hit her. Since that game, every time Sophie and McBride share the court, fans watch closely. Is it going to get physical again? Will Sophie deliver payback? It's the kind of tension that keeps everyone glued to the screen. And while Kayla McBride is one of the most respected veterans in the league, to Sophie Cunningham, she's the player who crossed a line. And that single elbow turned into a rivalry that fans will never forget. But if McBride's clash with Sophie was about physical pain, the next name on this list is all about words, because this feud didn't even start on the court. It started with comments that followed Sophie long after she left the Fever. Sometimes the ugliest rivalries don't start with a foul or a hard play or even a game. Sometimes they start with words, and that's exactly what happened between Sophie Cunningham and DeWanna Bonner. Not every rivalry comes from a hard foul, sometimes it's about trust and betrayal. When DeWanna Bonner signed with the Indiana Fever, it was supposed to be a dream. A Hall of Famer, a proven scorer, the veteran voice that was going to guide Caitlin Clark and help push the Fever into contention. Sophie Cunningham even vouched for her, calling Bonner one of the best she had ever played with. But what started as excitement quickly turned into a disaster. Bonner's numbers plummeted. She looked disengaged on the floor, and after just a handful of games, Coach Stephanie White benched her. For a player who was brought in to lead, that benching said it all. Then came the breaking point. One day Bonner was there, the next, she was gone. The team called it personal reasons, but everyone knew something wasn't right. And that's when Sophie Cunningham finally broke her silence on her podcast. She didn't hold back. She said Bonner wasn't happy in Indiana, and that's fine. But the way she left? Completely unprofessional. No goodbye, no text to her teammates, no closure. Just a vanishing act that left Clark and the rest of the Fever blindsided. Sophie spelled it out. If you're going to leave, at least send a message, at least say, good luck, show a little respect. But Bonner didn't. And to Sophie, that's the kind of behavior you don't forget. When Bonner returned to Indiana wearing a Phoenix Mercury jersey, the boos were deafening. Fever fans let her have it, and Caitlin Clark, sidelined with injury, was caught on camera celebrating every time Bonner missed. It was clear whatever trust once existed was completely gone. That's why this rivalry runs deeper than the box score, because for Sophie Cunningham, it wasn't about stats, it was about loyalty. And when Bonner walked away from the Fever without even saying goodbye, she became one of the players Sophie Cunningham hated the most. But Bonner wasn't the only outspoken star who clashed with Sophie, because the next player on this list doesn't just talk, she talks louder than almost anyone in the WNBA, and when her fire met Sophie's fire, it was inevitable that sparks would fly. If there's one thing Sophie Cunningham and Natasha Cloud have in common, it's that neither of them knows how to stay quiet, and that's exactly why this clash feels so inevitable. Natasha Cloud has built her career not just on her game, but on her voice. She's outspoken, fearless, and never hesitates to call out opponents, coaches, or even the league itself. She thrives on tension, sometimes using words sharper than any crossover she throws on the court. Now mix that energy with Sophie Cunningham, Sophie, who proudly wears the villain label, who tells fans and critics exactly what she thinks and who doesn't care who she offends. Put those two personalities in the same building and you're guaranteed fireworks. Their battles haven't always been highlight reel moments. Sometimes it's the little things, Cloud jawing after a bucket, Sophie smirking back. Sometimes it's the physical play, Cloud hounding guards full court, Sophie fighting through screens and bumping right back. But it's always loud. Even when the cameras don't pick it up, you can feel the clash in the air. And here's the thing, rivalries like this aren't about one play or one game. They're about identity. Cloud sees herself as a leader, a truth teller, a disruptor. Sophie sees herself as the one who won't be intimidated, the one who pushes back no matter what. It's a battle of voices, a battle of wills, and a battle that feels like it could erupt at any second. And for fans, that's what makes it so addictive, because when Sophie Cunningham lines up across from Natasha Cloud, you're not just watching basketball, you're watching two personalities collide. But if Cloud represents Sophie's war of words, the next two names on this list represent something else entirely. Because what happened in June 2025 wasn't just trash talk, it turned into one of the wildest, ugliest finishes in WNBA history. June 17th, 2025, Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. What started as a Commissioner's Cup game turned into chaos. With less than a minute left, Sophie Cunningham committed a hard foul that sent the Sun bench into an uproar. But what happened next pushed the entire night over the edge. Shoves, words, players swarming in from every angle, and when the dust settled, the refs did something you almost never see in the WNBA. They ejected 3 players at once. Sophie Cunningham was tossed, so was JCS Sheldon. And the third name, Lindsay Allen. For Sophie, this wasn't just another physical game, this was a line in the sand. Because when you get thrown out of the same game as someone, that moment bonds you as rivals. Fans remember it, commentators bring it up, and for players like Sophie, who take everything personally, it's the kind of memory that never fades.
During that, it was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so it's all good.
Allen has always been a gritty, scrappy guard who knows how to get under her opponent's skin. And in that moment, with tensions boiling and emotions running wild, she became part of one of the ugliest endings to a Fever game in years. The clip went everywhere, social media lit up, and just like that, Lindsay Allen's name was etched into Sophie Cunningham's rivalry book. Because for Sophie, this wasn't about the box score or the final buzzer. It was about pride, respect, and the fact that she left the court that night knowing exactly who stood across from her when the ejections came down. But the wildest part, Lindsay Allen wasn't even the most shocking name from that night. Because the third player tossed from that game was the one who had already gotten under Caitlin Clark's skin earlier in the season, and she's the one who takes the final spot on this list. If there's one rivalry that feels fresh, raw, and unforgettable, it's Sophie Cunningham versus JCS Sheldon. Because this one didn't just stay between the lines, it exploded into one of the ugliest scenes of the 2025 season. It started small. Earlier in the game, Sheldon got under Caitlin Clark's skin with a poke to the eye. The cameras caught Clark wincing, Fever fans erupted online, and you could see Sophie making mental notes in real time. Because if there's one thing Sophie doesn't tolerate, it's anyone messing with her teammate. Fast forward to the final minute. The Fever were up, the game was basically over, and then it happened. Sophie Cunningham wrapped Sheldon up with a hard foul. The kind of foul that sends a message, the kind of foul that says, "Not on my watch." Sheldon didn't back down, words were exchanged, players shoved, benches cleared, and when the officials finally sorted it all out, 3 players were sent packing, Sophie Cunningham, Lindsay Allen, and JCS Sheldon. That ejection cemented Sheldon's place on this list, because for Sophie, this wasn't just about protecting Clark, it was about making a statement to the entire league. If you cross the line with the Fever, Sophie will be there waiting, and that's what makes this rivalry so different from the rest. It's brand new, it's messy, and it feels like the start of something bigger. Every future Fever Sun matchup is now marked with tension. Every time Sophie and JC share the floor, fans will be waiting for the next spark, the next hard foul, the next confrontation. And for Sophie Cunningham, that's exactly how she likes it. She doesn't shy away from conflict, she runs straight into it, and JCS Sheldon might just be her newest, most memorable rival yet. But as wild as this list has been, Sophie's story doesn't end here. Because the truth is, rivalries are what made her who she is, and they're the reason fans can't stop watching. 7 players, 7 rivalries, and one undeniable truth: Sophie Cunningham was born to be the WNBA's villain. She's not afraid of boos, she's not afraid of critics, and she's definitely not afraid of calling out anyone who crosses the line. From Chennedy Carter's hip check to Angel Reese's trash talk to the chaos of that Connecticut Sun game, Sophie has turned every clash into fuel. It's what makes her polarizing, it's what makes her unforgettable. And honestly, It's why fans can't stop talking about her. Because love her or hate her, Sophie Cunningham represents something rare in the WNBA, a player who embraces the fire, who thrives on rivalries, and who refuses to stay silent. And if this list proves anything, it's that the drama is only just beginning. But here's the question: if Sophie is the league's villain, who's the true hero? Because what happened to Caitlin Clark this season makes that answer a whole lot more complicated. Don't miss it. Click right here for the full story of the players who went too far against Clark.